gang, gang. Hey, nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together to the grave. It's a game till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip if they hate. We got I don't give a fuck in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
We the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm Meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Tuttle back with you again. It's about a quarter till 10 o'clock here on a Wednesday night, and we've had a pretty decent snow event out there for parts of Oklahoma. It's not smiles for everybody, but there are quite a bit of inches to deal with out in southwest Oklahoma and west central and parts of southwest central Oklahoma. So should be some good snow. Men and women and families all being built out there. Maybe some tonight and maybe some more tomorrow. So I hope the kids out there are enjoying that. So thanks for joining me, liking, sharing this video, friends and family, all that kind of stuff. I see you out there on YouTube checking in. Usual crew in the house on Facebook. I'll post the link here so that you can get a direct notification through your Facebook Messenger from me when I do go live, so that you do not miss an episode or broadcast. So I've got that in there for you. And I guess on with the show, as they say, right? So let's do that now. Let's see here. So first thing we're going to show you is, look at this, a live look outside. So this is from my weather cam, and yes, you can still see, just it's barely there. But you see some snow. Do you see that? Coming from the street light there. And if you look at that roof line, there's a dusting. I have a whole dusting here at my house. I am so disappointed. I would like to have seen a lot more, but unfortunately I was one of the ones here in Oklahoma City area that just didn't get a whole lot here at my house, and I'm just sad about that. But that's okay. You know, at least we got some snow out there, so I'll go out there and see what I can kick up from the ground. Temperatures out there cold. We've got 31.6 degrees on my Tempest weather station. There was a post on my Facebook wall earlier this evening. If you'd like to pick up one of these Tempest weather stations, you can use the QR code there on the screen, or just look at that post, and that'll tell you more. All right, so now let's get on with the radar, shall we? So we do have more of this snow. It's light, but it continues out here across the Oklahoma City metro area. But right now, it's kind of lining up along east of I-35. So west of I-35 is pretty much over. It continues to progress now on the eastern side of town, so we'll put this in motion for you. Most of the more significant precipitation is now pressing from our direction into Chandler, Bristow, up toward Tulsa, then back into southeast Oklahoma. But you can see how it's kind of dwindling here over central Oklahoma. So here in the Oklahoma City metro, though, we still got some, it's light. The green areas are very light. The blue is basically kind of glorified flurries and very, very light snow. But the green is at least a little heavier in that regard. And that continues on down south toward Norman, Purcell, Paoli, Pauls Valley, so some good snow. Still continues on down into southern Oklahoma. And yes, southeast Oklahoma still getting a little bit of light snow as well from McAllister to Atoka, Durant. So this activity continues to move away from us. And if you look down south toward Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth and North Texas, you will notice, are into the 40s. But if you do notice, look at these little stars, these little asterisks. These are public reports. and they're saying they've got some snow or graupel. So graupel is kind of like what happens when that snowflake starts to melt and collapse on itself, forms like a little hard BB, a little white BB. So that is what graupel is, and there's been a couple of reports of that all the way down south to Dallas-Fort Worth. So how about that? You guys got a little flurry activity down there in Big D. Other than that, though, you're way too warm for it to stick, so maybe the next one. And I do mean the next one because there's one just on the horizon. I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a minute. Okay, so let's go on rest of the maps. Let me load that up next. Let's see. Let's go to this guy here. Okay, so this was our upper level storm system here in the 500 millibar level. This is our jet stream, so that's moving on through. And as we talked about the last few days, it was strongest across the Texas Panhandle and moving into northwestern Texas and southwest Oklahoma. And then it starts to weaken along the Red River as it moves into Arkansas. You can tell that because the colors start to get less and less intense, less and less of those purples and reds. So that is a storm system that is moving on out and taking the snow with it. So if you look at the high-res model data, it does show you the snow that lines up from Tulsa to the east side of Oklahoma City down toward Wichita Falls. Each hour continues to press away and diminish with time, so that by midnight we've got some lingering flurries or so out there in eastern Oklahoma, and that's about it. Nothing substantial or measurable, although there's last gasp looks like to about 4 o'clock in the morning, which is a little different change. So maybe you'll just get a very, very light dusting, a skiff, but that's about it, you guys out there, far eastern Oklahoma and far western Arkansas. Otherwise, this event is coming to an end. Now, how much snow did we see? It's hard to tell because, some of this didn't happen for central and southern Oklahoma until at dark. But you guys out here southwest, I did see many reports of around 3 and even 4 inches. The high-resolution RAP model probably did the best in the end of the day. Its noon run had about 4 to 5 inches in this little blue ring down here in southwest Oklahoma. We talked about that being a sweet spot and a favored spot for some higher amounts due to the lift and that very tight, compact upper level low pressure storm. But they're always do terrible overall at snowfall forecasting. Now, if you do look at the weather impacts, so the minor out here in southwestern Oklahoma where the snow is kind of coming in a little heavy right now. If you go to my website, aarontuttle.weather.com, you can go to the weather data tab. If you do that, you scroll down, you will see Oklahoma road conditions. So if you're wanting to know how are the roads, and if you're getting out early in the morning, how will the roads be, go to my website, check out that tab link, and it'll show you. So it does have the snow routes here in Oklahoma City. I don't think we're going to need those. But if you do look across the state, there are some delays. In other words, some of these highways are color-coded in orange. And you can click on these little individual cameras to see kind of how things are moving. So keep that in mind. Then here's another Oklahoma Transportation Department site. It kind of does the same kind of deal. It kind of combines the whole Google Maps idea with if they're working, their video and camera sensor stations. But you can see here in Weatherford, slow go here. Now, there was an accident out there at some point earlier this afternoon in western Oklahoma due to the snow. So just check that out for your road conditions, both overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So temperatures will be cooling down, of course. We've got cold air in place, and that snow will help to cool it down even more. So let's drop you down into the 20s out here in western Oklahoma, into the teens once we get to the midnight hour. Let's go on into 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, you will notice that we kind of hold into the mid-20s here in central Oklahoma. Pretty much, it's a hard line in the sand, man. It's from Tulsa right along the I-44 corridor, kind of like this. So once you get south and east of that, I mean, it's balmy. We're in the 30s, so it's not bad at all, near 40 for tomorrow morning. But west of that, and this little region right here, these little purple areas, these white areas, all in here, these where temperatures are going to fall into the teens because of some of the snow that's on the ground and the very light winds and clear skies. Could be some single digits maybe sneaking in there. Look, there's 10 degrees, for example, in model data out here just northwest in Elk City. So wherever we did get about 3 or 4 inches of snow, you will, in a low-lying valley, with shelter from the wind at all, and it's not giving much of a wind, you're going to get really, really cold in the morning. Okay, so that's how that looks. By the way, as we rebound tomorrow, watch this. You can tell where the model has predicted where most of the snow has fallen because this region here is slow to warm. because of the snow. So a lot of that energy is used to melt the snow versus to warm the temperatures above the ground. So therefore, it stays pretty cold in this area through lunchtime. And then as we head into the afternoon, it starts to shrink more and more and more. And now this is your typical Oklahoma snow. Here today, almost gone the next. It's 4 and 5 o'clock. We rebound to the 40s across the state tomorrow afternoon, but you can make out where the heaviest snow has fallen is where it's still sticking by the end of the day. And that'll be down here in this little sweet spot that we highlighted last night in your forecast. All right, so let's move on from that. We've got another storm system coming our way. I know you're thinking, what? And I'm telling you, yeah. So are you ready? So this one showed up last couple of days, and the trend has continued, and the rest of the models have gone on board with it. So here it comes. So we're going to deal with it. Now, this is a look at the European output. Again, this is our upper levels of the atmosphere. It's our gesturing patterns. We're looking at this upper level low. Now, ahead of this low, it is going to be kicking in some moisture and some instability, and it's very deep, meaning that the colors you see here wrap all the way down into Mexico. So we like these really deep upper level lows to come in across southern New Mexico versus, say, central or northern New Mexico, like this last one did. It came across kind of northern New Mexico and went due east. This one that comes in from deeper south route, then northeast or east, that sets a better stage for more moisture return. So that's good if you want some action. May not be what the action you want, though, because this also has a tendency to tap into some warmer air aloft, which can also lead to a mixed precipitation event, which includes some ice and snow. So we'll get to that here in a second. But anyway, that's the upper level look to it. That was the European model. The Canadian model has a similar look, but it's a little delayed, a little behind. This is all for Wednesday afternoon. And then here's the American model. It's actually ahead. So the timing is going to be off this far out in advance. That's not unheard of. But the overall signal is the same. So it's a good storm system, a lot of energy, a lot of color with it, which means a lot of lift in the atmosphere. So if you're wanting a good winter storm, this looks like to be taking shape. Now, we will see a little weak disturbance that will move through on Monday. Not a whole lot of moisture to work with, but we should squeeze out at least some light rain across southern Oklahoma on Monday. So right now the weekend looks good. Show you that forecast in a second. But some good heavy rain maybe in northeastern Texas, maybe far southeast Oklahoma. Otherwise, that little ditty moves on by into Tuesday morning toward Arkansas, and it's out of here. Okay, then we start to watch for the changes for the upper level storm system kind of take shape. We have cold air that rushes in, so we've got the Arctic air that's oozing in ahead of time, a day early, or day before the event, and now you can see the snowfall breaking out. Now what you will see on the map here is a change in the colors. So I'll stop this here on Wednesday evening. All right, so the green is just plain old rain. The red is freezing rain. The purple is sleet. And the blue is snow. So what's the difference? Well, power outages with freezing rain, which you don't want. Snow can sometimes cause power outages on the lines if it's heavy enough and doesn't get blown off. And it's very wet and sticky. Sleet just bounces off everywhere. The only thing it really does is cause slick roadways. So the ice is definitely not what we want, but it's a 3 parts, looks like, phase of our from liquid to solid on the form of precipitation. Okay, so that is Wednesday evening and then Wednesday night. So you can see that's a big storm. Affects all the way down to Dallas-Fort Worth. Maybe as far south as central Texas. Depends on how deep that upper level low travels. In other words, how far south it goes. You can see a lot of snow that moves through here, Oklahoma, through Thursday. So it's a 2-day event. So there's Thursday afternoon. And then we're to Thursday evening. And then there's Thursday night. So it's a slow event. It's a big event, a slow event, and a problematic event in the data at this point in time. Now, we're just going to show you just some precipitation output only because to tell you the take home is that it's a significant event. These amounts will not verify. It's just so you know. So we're looking at it as a different view. So this is not your quote clickbait. This is your just be aware. This is what's in the data, just to show you that the trend has continued to increase. So we do have accumulating ice here in southeastern Oklahoma. So it kind of runs right along the I-44 corridor from Lawton to Oklahoma City to Tulsa, and then points south to Wichita Falls and points east down to Dallas. So keep that in mind. And this will change. This will probably move around a little bit as we fine tune things, and this track of the system, becomes more cohesive. Now, as far as snowfall goes, I'll just show you this is a blend of models. So in other words, it will change as well, but just also to show you it is showing snow with this system. It's got 2, 3, 4 inches out here, higher amounts in northeast Oklahoma. Now, will that be the case? Probably not. We can take a look. We did look at the Canadian output for that storm because it was the most intense, so it paints the best picture. Now, if we look at the snowfall from it, though, just to kind of give you an idea, if that model had a clue this far out as to what's really going to happen, and we're not taking a model blend, we're just going to take the Canadian for what it's worth, all right? And just to give you an idea of the magnitude, right, that the output is showing us as a meteorologist, 10 inches of snow in Oklahoma City, a foot of snow in Tulsa, 2 feet of snow in southwest Missouri. All right, should send alarm bells in your head. Now, today is Wednesday. This is for next Wednesday and Thursday, so that's more than a week away. So obviously the accuracy of this is not going to be that great, but this is the signal that we're talking about. This is the storm system we're tracking, and so this is why we got to take it serious and not hype it up, but at least let you know what's coming. All right, so here is a look also at the winds within that will be pretty strong with that storm system, and torch temperatures will be much colder. So we're looking at readings to be into the single digits, even below 0, so it would be a very cold event as well. Well, wasn't that some good news for you? All right, here's a look at your outlook for the next few days here in Oklahoma City. Your area may differ just a bit, so use my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It'll give you your 7-day forecast for right in your hometown. Otherwise, 20s at night for the next few nights, 60s during the days. We head to Saturday, Sunday, Monday, too, so really good looking weather at this point. I like how fast we can warm things up when the air mass isn't all that brutal. And then we shall watch the bottom drop on Wednesday. So these numbers, of course, will be massaged over the upcoming days to see what happens. Obviously, if things go like we're looking at, you will never see this 36 degrees. It'll probably stuck into the teens to low 20s for that Thursday, whereas Wednesday is a falling temperature kind of day. And then if we do get significant snow and ice accumulations, for example, let's just say for fun that 10 inches was correct. On that Friday morning, we'll be way colder than 18, and there's no way in the world we'll hit 44. We won't even probably get out of the 20s. So that snow will retard the warm-up from the temperatures because we talked about earlier. So that is a look at a lot of stuff. I love winter weather forecasting and storms just because they're fun, they're unique, they're very intricate. Boy, can I say that right? So there's a lot of stuff that we can look at. All right, I'm going to load up my video on my phone so I can see your comments. I wasn't able to check them out earlier, and therefore, because I didn't have it loaded, I missed all the comments. Oh, it's terrible. It stinks. Because what happens for me, I don't know if this happens for you, but I will get notified that I'm live on my phone, right? I'm going, okay, good. I'll click on it. If I click too soon, it shows me my old one as though it's live. It is so irritating. And I don't know if that's just me or if that's you. If it's you, type in the comment section and let me know that that happens to you too. Because I don't know if it just happens to me only. So I usually have to wait like an extra minute and then tap it, and then it'll play the current live one. It's really weird. So like I said, I don't know if that's just me or if that's everybody. If that's just the early beavers getting in on it. All right, so let me take a look at a couple of your questions, comments, concerns, all that kind of stuff. All right. Oh, it happens to you too. Okay, good. So I'm seeing some of your comments on there. So it's not just me. All right. It's a Seinfeld episode. It isn't you. It's me. So, all right, good to know. Thanks for letting me know that that's an issue. So Facebook's got a problem. Go figure. All right, so that's what I have here for you. Thanks for that feedback, by the way. I can't see anybody's comments past like 5, so if you asked me something earlier, I totally missed it, and I won't be able to see it because, whatever. But sometimes that happens. Okay. I guess that's it. I mean, just check in with me off and on over the next few days. I'll do another blog, of course, but I'll be doing some of these live videos, and we'll get into the data, and we'll kind of analyze. Oh, you know what? Just for fun, those folks that are still here, I'll just show you one more thing. I was going to show you this earlier, then I forgot. I got too much in my head. So let me load something up here. And let's see. Sounding. Okay. So if you're asking, it's a fair question. Why did we not get a whole lot of snow here in Oklahoma City? Now remember, the models we looked last night, and they were anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch, and averaging out from the west side of town to the east side of town, heavier to the lighter, right? And so I just averaged it as an inch tops here just to call it easy, whereas obviously that didn't happen for some of you, especially central, east, probably, or north, or I don't know. It's still snowing, so maybe get a little bit more, but here is one of the reasons. So this is a sounding in the atmosphere. This is when the balloons launch from the National Weather Service, okay? And the red is the temperature that goes up. The green is the dew point for the moisture. When the red and the green lines are very close to one another, you're saturated, okay? So that's what we definitely need. So the atmosphere is very saturated, very moist over a long way up, all right, several thousand feet. But right in this level right here, these two lines separate, which means it's very dry. So what happens is you get a lot of the snow that develops in the snow growth layer, kind of in this region here, and it starts to fall, right? And then it falls in this dry layer right here. And what that does is these two numbers will meet, and these two numbers meet right where this little blue line is. That's called the wet bulb temperature right here. That's below freezing, like 30, looks like about 30 degrees. But what happens is you waste a lot of that snow trying to saturate the lowest level of the atmosphere in this region here. And we call it sublimation when it does so. Now, I will show you what that looks like vertically. So you saw me use this the last few nights. Again, we're going to highlight this for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is around 15,000 feet, the yellow line. The pink double lines, triple lines, whatever you call them, that is the snow growth layer, okay? The moisture is in green, so that's saturation, it's humidity. And then we have the red, these little circles here, this is called omega, or lift. All right, so what you need is, you need moisture in the snow growth layer to get snow to form, and you need lift to squeeze out that moisture in the form of some flakes, right? So that was happening late this afternoon and this evening, right here in this little time frame. What's interesting, you will notice, is as this happens, as the model happens, now the model in this particular case goes from right to left. In other words, time is right to left. So this would be noon over here, and this is like midnight right here, okay? So we're going right to left with time. So if you notice, and I'll use a different color, red, it's very dry in the lower levels all the way up through about 6 and 7 o'clock down here. That's lame. All right. So what happens is you get all this snow that starts to fall, and it gets down here into that dry layer, which I just showed you in the sounding, and it eventually moistens it up. But when does it moisten it up? It moistens it up right over here in the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock window, 10 o'clock window. But if you notice, now it's snowing outside here in Oklahoma City, at least, you know, from now, most of us moving off to the east, but during that time, since when I first went on, we were having snow here, even at the house. But there's a problem. You do notice now, in this window of time up here, we've lost all the red, the omega, the lift. So by the time we saturate the atmosphere at the lower levels to get that snow to accumulate down here where we all live and breathe, the lift for the system is over. Talk about lame. That is as lame can be. But regardless, that's kind of what I use as tools to kind of give you a forecast so I can look to see how things ought to pan out. And this is what it showed the last few nights, so it's not anything new. It's just the problem is you don't know how long it takes for this process to occur and how much snow is wasted. The model will try to give a good guess, and when they indicate a light snowfall accumulation, that's a pretty good guess. It's going to take a while. When they have so much lift in a system, it will overcome this dry layer much quicker, and that'll paint really high snowfall amounts. So that's how the models will kind of guide you as to how that should play out. But it's still just an educated guessing game. But here in Oklahoma City, that's the reason why a lot of our snow this afternoon and evening, it was snowing to beat the band. And this is right here, this is 5,000 foot. Okay, so from 5,000 foot up in the air to 15,000 foot, snowing all day long. So you might have seen like some wispies in the clouds. So that's kind of how that works. But where we live, where I care, where you care, it needs to come down here. And so that's why it took so long for that to happen. It's the nature of the beast. When you have a weak system like this and you're overcoming dry air, then that's usually an outcome that you have to contend with. Now, for next week, we shall see. All right, still too early to look at that stuff in this type of a format, but we'll be looking at that soon. So, hope that was helpful. Hope that was educational. If you come here to expect 2-minute weather of dumbed down, nothing educational, just here's your answer, here's the answer to the question on the test, and then leave, you're not going to find it. I like to do little weather 101 classroom stuff. I think it's fun, it's educational, it's neat, it's interesting. You guys learn a little bit about the weather, and you're smarter for it, right? You guys will be the most educated weather prognosticators out there. You will actually be able to forecast weather for your friends and neighbors. That, I learned from AT today this little trick, or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's fun. It's neat. All right, that's it for me. I got to get out of here, but I do appreciate you guys, your support tonight. Bo, I see you over there. Good to see you. Checking in. And we'll see how you know what? What time is it? 10:10. I don't know if the new American model is in yet. I know. I'm a squirrel, so I think of things on the fly at the last minute. But let me just see if the new American model is in for next week. If it is, it probably hasn't finished. What do we got here? It has. You want to see the American model? All right, listen. If you want to see it, hit the like button or the love button right now, real quick. If I can see enough of those flying up, then I'll show you the American model for next week. It just came in, it's hot off the presses, and we'll look at it together. And then I'm going to turn you loose. I've tried to turn you loose like 3 times now. I mean it this time. All right, so hit that, and then we're going to get on with it. All right, I'm seeing them flying through, so okay, we'll do it. All right, so let's take a look at the American model. Now, American model is a fun model because sometimes it's completely out to lunch, and sometimes it at least has an idea. So we'll take a look here. Let's see. So this is on Monday. All right, so remember on Monday, we have some light rain moving through southeast Oklahoma into North Texas. All right. So this is an example of a closed low system. And this is the kind of closed low system that we need to get a lot of snow going, or sometimes ice or whatever in the atmosphere. So we didn't quite have a closed low system with this one. It came really close, but it was still an open way, but it was very small. I mean, it was like this size here. Whereas this one, as you notice, is almost the whole size of Texas. So that's huge. Now, that's unfortunately is only going to be producing some rain because the temperatures down here are too warm. So if I look at the forecast sounding, for example, for Dallas at this time frame, the surface temperature is like 58 degrees. And if I look here in Oklahoma City for some wraparound stuff with cloud cover, we're at also 58 degrees. So not going to happen with this one. All right, so what we're going to do is focus on the next storm after that. And unfortunately, it hasn't quite come in yet. Oh, again, lame. So let me go look at the national view so I can at least see where it's going. Okay, so it's still showing it coming in off the Pacific Northwest. And unfortunately, this is like watching paint dry or grass grow in the wintertime. It's slow go, but there's Tuesday morning, so it's starting to shape up here. So what we watch for is, let me go this. So the air flows along the jet stream track like this in between these lines. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're just watching this river of air come down and shoot out. And what happens is you can get a very strong jet winds that dig in this direction. As they do, it deepens this trough, and this is called a trough that swings through. So trough axis would be in the middle of this. This deepens the trough and shoves it more to the south. And then that's what we look for to then get a response. And the response is, this is in the mid-levels, upper levels of the atmosphere. The response then is to start to pull upwards, stuff from the south. So that means it starts to pull moisture from down here across South Texas and the Gulf of Mexico, starts to pull it north. So the deeper, more south these things go, the better they are at tapping into this moisture and pulling it into our direction. And we're not that far from the Gulf of Mexico, so it's good for us. That's why we get a lot of weather around here. That's why it's very active. We get the combination of both of these deals. Also, when it comes farthest far south, you will a lot of times tap into the Pacific moisture overhead, high upper level moisture, and that will stream in. So then you end up having two moisture trains. That's good. Storm system loves moisture, so now it's got it from two major levels of the atmosphere, and it's got, of course, the energy it brings with it, and so that's how that starts to set the stage. Let me go through a time here. So now this is on Tuesday afternoon. So this is the system still winding up. So we're just watching as it comes in minute by minute. I'm showing you kind of what I look at to say, okay, what kind of position are we in? And then, let me think here. While we're waiting on the upper levels, let me go. Let's see. Give me moisture. This is what I wanted. Can we do 925? Yeah, we can do 925. Let me go back. Okay. Go back that one too. All right. So this is interesting. Okay. So remember, the response is to pull moisture north as that system comes in from the northwest. So if you will notice, in these blues and greens, this is a very low level moisture source coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, streaming northward into Texas and Oklahoma on a south wind. All right. So what we do is, as that system gets closer, let's jump ahead a few hours. You can see how much deeper, thicker that moisture is. We're saturated here in the 100% ring, so that means that's good for us. Now, you do notice sometimes these are the forecasting caveats here. What happens? Sometimes you get these downslope components of some wind, drier air off of Mexico that comes in and kind of shuts that off. Well, that stinks. We don't want that to happen, do we? We want a good winter storm. So we want more of this moisture to take over this little dry slot area. But sometimes those dry slots can happen. All right, so let's go to, let's see, we're Tuesday afternoon again. So you now start to see what happens here at the surface, which is you're getting your wind to come back from the south, overtaking that temporary dry air position. And if you look right here, you see a swirling counterclockwise motion as we have a surface low forming in response to the developing upper low. All right, so now this surface low continues to feed in that moisture. Now, on this particular case, you will also notice up here to the north, these are all north winds. All right, so here's our little frontal boundary starting to take shape. Now, a lot of times when these setups happen, and you get that big upper level low out here to our west-southwest, this boundary here, the cold front as it will be, ends up kind of coming like this. We're kind of stalls along I-44, for example, with the really cold stuff, and then kind of down south, it's not as cold. So we'll see, because a lot of times you get these ice storm setups if it gets too out of control. But let me go to the next panel. This will be Tuesday evening, and it has a surface low now moving into southwest Oklahoma. Otherwise, the same overall look to it. And now let's go to Tuesday night, midnight still. All right, so now this is what happens here Tuesday midnight. And I'm using yellow just because it shows up better. That's not the color you would draw a cold front, but whatever. Okay, so this is where the cold front boundary lies. And look at this, right on the I-44 corridor. And then comes into southern Texas Panhandle. And our little surface low is still hanging in there right about so. All right, that sets the stage. This is a classic setup. Okay, so now we've gone into late Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. So now this is where things are supposed to get interesting. All right, so we've still got the moisture coming in. Look at down here in the Gulf of Mexico, still coming out of a south wind coming across Texas. So we still got the moisture feed going on to come in with this surface low in the front that's overhead. And of course we have the upper level system out to our west, which we can toggle back and forth. So I'll go back to that and we'll see where that is. All right, so there it is. So the center of this guy is out here in the Four Corners region. So coming over Arizona. So again, we have this change path in jet stream where you kind of have a southwest flow aloft. And that usually brings in Pacific moisture. Sometimes you can see that here with the winds in the jet stream. So this is the winds I'm now plotting in the jet stream pattern. If you notice, these winds right here in red, that's up around 120 to, looks like, where are we? Yeah, about 120 knots. So that's your jet streak going across us. So this is going to cause lift in the atmosphere. You're going to produce a lot of cloud cover. So this will help with that upper level moisture source in the environment. Let me see if that shows up at this point on a sounding. So it does. So if you look here, the red and the green, remember I told you if they touch each other, that's saturated. So there's your upper level moisture source with the jet streak coming overhead. So that's how that one layer of moisture there. The second layer of moisture we talked about is that lower level coming up the Gulf of Mexico, and that's still there too. Now the mid levels in between are a little dry right now, but that's okay. That's typical. They'll moisten up as that system gets closer. But this is how things change as the conditions continue to evolve. All right, so I'm going to go to the next deal here. This is Wednesday morning. Jets still right over Texas and Oklahoma. And now let's go back to a look at the upper level low. All right. Now this is probably where we left off, where the Canadian looked like the Canadian, right? So they look almost identical from memory here, and so that's your upper level low, and there's got a lot of energy diving here into North Mexico. So I'm hoping this will deepen a little bit more. In other words, the low will go from there to say here. So that's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see. And then we'll see what happens with that as it comes across. Now, if we go back to our moisture source, let's go take a look at that. All right. Oh, good news. Now, again, I'm biased here. When I say good news, for me, that means Armageddon. When you hear me say good news for me, Armageddon, that's bad news for you. So just want to make it clear, because remember, I'm a meteorologist. If I wanted to predict sunny skies 24/7, 365, I don't think I could do that. But anyway, so here we go. So we got the moisture deepening here in Texas still, and that's still coming on up into Oklahoma. The frontal boundary continues to sag a little bit more down south now through Dallas-Fort Worth and out to the hill country, looks like. So that means cold air continues to pile in here to Oklahoma. So that's some good news, if you, of course, want this favorable outcome of a winter storm. And then let's see, we're going to click, yeah, we're getting closer. The data keeps coming in pretty quick now. All right, so in this particular case, we have now deepened. We've lost some of our upper level moisture, but that's okay. But we've deepened our low level moisture, and we've gotten a lot colder. We're 24 degrees. But we are above freezing in this column here. It's a warm nose. So that's a freezing rain event. So if you look here at the forecast sounding, it says freezing rain and drizzle. All right, so here's the beginning of our icing event, according to this data. And this is Wednesday morning. Not heavy, but light. All right, so I'm going to go to Wednesday afternoon. So same kind of idea there. Looks like most of the moisture is along the I-35 corridor that points to the east. Okay, so at this particular time, we've jumped 6 hours in advance from Wednesday morning to Wednesday afternoon. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is going to be a ton of lift in the snow growth layer for sleet and snow to develop, and it's just teetering at the freezing line here at probably about 8,000 feet up, something like that. So that usually has a mixture of snow and sleet when that occurs. It eventually changes over to all snow, typically. Sometimes it can go back and forth if you're right on the line and it just doesn't change any, but usually it goes one way or the other. But that kind of gives you an idea. We've gone from a light freezing rain drizzle to a sleet to a snow event during the day on Wednesday in this data set. All right, let's go look at the upper level deal. So the upper low. Disappointed. So disappointed. So it's coming through central New Mexico. I would have liked to have dug a little more. but that's what it is. It can still dig as it comes into Texas. I was just hoping that would dig a little bit more. So let's take a look. I'll leave that on the map, and then we'll see where it goes once I animate here a couple frames. Oh, that changes my map. That's confusing. Here we go. Let's do another one. Okay, so it's not digging at all. It's coming same track as the one that we had today, and it's a lot weaker. Oh, poo-poo on this one. So that's why when you're a week away, you don't get too excited on one model run from one model, because this has a completely different look than the others. It's still a storm system, don't get me wrong, but it's a completely different outcome and look to it than the other. Plus, it has a secondary loading up out here west, so it's got a 1-2 punch. This is the first wave with the secondary wave, and this model actually had a split wave, whereas the other models combine them into one. So this one is going to stick with its guns on having two systems. The first one that moves through on Wednesday, and then a second one that probably moves through late Thursday, so about 24 hours later is my guess is what it's going to do. All right, so how does that look with precipitation? So this particular case, it does have the wraparound snow Wednesday there, but I'm going to go back in time to where it's got the sleet, freezing rain, and see where that starts, where that ends. So we were looking at the complicated stuff. Now I'm going to show you the easy stuff. And I'm going to zoom in, so we're going to go get a little closer for you. Alright, so there's your snow up in Kansas and northwest Oklahoma and the Panhandle. This is early Wednesday morning. Alright, so this is our hint at freezing drizzle, this little light echoes in the data. That's all it indicates. We'll go through time here. You can see how it kind of expands. This model, and even some of the other ones, did favor northeast Oklahoma more so than central for heavier amounts. So that looks like that's continuing, at least for that early wave. Here's midday Wednesday, so it's lunchtime. It's got purple for sleet, so it does have quite a bit of sleet here over parts of central Oklahoma. Oh, and then it kicks it up a notch, and I mean a big notch. This is Wednesday afternoon, 3 o'clock. Heavy sleet from Tulsa down south. So if I were just to click on the middle of this, kind of give you an idea what that sounding profile looks like, it is completely saturated. So this is where the green and the red are completely together. It is hugging. So this is, you can't see that hardly, but this little blue line that goes up in the atmosphere is the freezing line. So it's 0 degrees Celsius. So if these lines here ever touch this line, it's sleet. All right. If they stay over here on this side of the line, it's all snow. If they come over here on this side of the line, like this, in this area, it's freezing rain. So pure ice. So it's right now right on the cusp. So the forecast at this point calls for, as a result, sleet. And you can have quite a bit of sleet. I mean, you can pile up sleet. We've had a sleet storm here in Oklahoma City, I think several inches deep. So that's a pretty good signal for a lot of sleet in that area. All right, so we're going to go through time, and that expands. That is a heck of a sleet storm. Now, there will be some freezing rain on the leading edge of that out here in the east. So we'll have to watch for that and accumulations. But a sleet storm you can handle as far as power issues are concerned. Driving conditions, nah, you don't even want to bother with it. But at least power issues, that's not a big factor. It does have some wraparound snow, though, as we head into, what was this, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. So there's some light snow moving on in, blah, blah, blah. All right, so for fun, let's just take a look and see what the totals were for the snow with this system. All right, so actually it's funny. Not that different from the Canadian, but the as far as the extreme amounts, but it's a different look as far as the placement. So it cuts the placement off here at central Oklahoma and then moves to northeast, whereas the Canadian, I believe, if we recall, had it just kind of more like this for everybody. So the GFS American says, nah. Central Oklahoma gets a glancing blow of the good snows. Tulsa still gets nearly a foot, points north and east from there. Now we talk about the ice accumulation. This will not accumulate the sleet. We don't have a model that accumulates sleet very well. But we do have one that will accumulate the freezing rain aspect of it. And it's saying as much as 1/4 of an inch down here in southeast Oklahoma and into North Texas. So 1/4 of an inch will cause some power outage problems. So, you cruise, if they're smart, are already checking in to the weather now, and they're noticing, okay, we're potentially going to have to send our crews down here to North Texas, Southeast Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, and in a big area of Missouri as far as power outages are concerned. That's so in their game plans, their big dogs will sit around a conference room. Well, now they'll Zoom it from everybody's home pajamas, and they'll decide that's where they're going to send their resources. Okay, so let me now go to Wave 2. Let me see what Wave 2 is doing, because that was Wave 1. Let me see if Wave 2 ended up doing what it looked like it might try to do. So we got to go back out, bigger picture. All right, so let's see. That's Thursday. We're going to have to go to Friday, looks like. Okay, so it's coming in much later. So this is now into... all right, so this will be Thursday evening. So it could actually start to affect us late Thursday. So I actually had a pretty good guess there. That wasn't too far off. All right, and the question is, what's it going to do? Let's take a look at a couple things. It's probably going to be pretty dry. It's going to have to overcome some dry air, so let's take a look. And it does. It has a lot of dry air to overcome, the whole column. And it is cold, man. 6 degree dew point, 10 degree Fahrenheit for the surface temperature. That is cold. That's a nasty, brutally cold temperature. Matter of fact, let's take a look at temperatures. So that's that cold air spilling out of Canada, which is in the minus 20s, minus 30s, all the way here into the upper Midwest, and then right here in Oklahoma and Kansas, where Kansas, and again, this is in the late afternoon, evening, minus 12 degrees. That's not a wind chill. That's the actual air temperatures. This is stupid, nasty cold. This is a really good Arctic front that comes in that blasts us here in Oklahoma and even all the way down to Texas coast, looks like, for Thursday. All right, let me think here. Let's see. Okay, so some new data came in. So now we're Thursday night. We're in the single digits or negative numbers up here in northeast Oklahoma. Of course, that's in effect of the snow that was on the ground from before. Now, I don't see any look to precipitation here from that upper level low. So it looks like that may come in dry. It's having a hard time to saturate the atmosphere. Man, it is cold. 2 degrees. That is too cold. All right, let's go to the upper levels. So it's just hanging out here. This 1-2 punch is pretty lame. The first punch is now way over here in the northeast. So it moved fast. It zipped on out of here. And then Friday or Thursday night, this guy is still kind of coming in. And normally with this pattern, it would do something. So let me see what the forecast sounding looks like out here. What's it doing? Should be moistening it up. It's trying. Oof. Yeah, this may just be a flurry maker at this point. And then we just get the one system and we're done. Which is fine. I mean, it's still a good winter storm. I just, like to have a little extra. Alright, so let's see. I'm going to give it one more minute here. Let this Friday morning data come in, and then I think we're going to call it. Let me see if... yeah, there's no other models are in yet. The Canadian's still coming in. But it's only at hour 60, so it's got a long ways to go. Alright, so there's Friday morning. The system dug quite a bit south, though. That's good. But it's more of a open wave trough. So it's like this. To me, that's lame. I don't like open wave troughs. They produce very little precipitation compared to the closed lows. But at least produce something. But in this case, we're looking pretty light. If I click another sounding out here in western Texas just to see, yeah, it's struggling to moisten anything up. And let's see if it's doing anything for us. No. So yeah, I think at this point it's probably going to be flurries. Yeah, I'm just disappointed. It's not even worth looking at this point. I'm bored with it. All that build up just to let me down. What a waste. All right, so that's it. I'm glad you guys stuck around, though. I hope that was fun, educational. You're just watching a meteorologist forecast on the fly, and I just showed just a very few things that we look at. Trust me, there's so much more, but that's the big picture items just for overall, setup of the environment. It doesn't get into the details of things, because at this point out, you don't get too detailed because it's not going to be accurate, so it's why waste your time. It's a lot of, I will tell you this, though, when it comes to severe weather, there will be people that wish cast. They will look at this stuff and get down to the details and then start putting on social media, tornado outbreak in 10 days from now, that kind of stuff. And that makes my skin crawl. But that's just an example of how you're supposed to do it. But whatever. So that's the way it is. All right, listen, you guys were great tonight. Thanks for hanging in there. That was a much longer live than I actually really anticipated. But we ended up going a little extra. Christopher Hubbard, I see you out there. Chief meteorologist. Yeah, that's not hard when I'm the only meteorologist of AT's weather. Kind of make sure I'm always the chief. The sleet does cut down on snow accumulations. True. That is a general rule of thumb. So in other words, if you could get just cold enough. Remember, we were on the teetering edge of the freezing line, a few thousand feet off the ground. If you can stay just left of that line, all that energy, all that moisture, all that lift that was going to produce sleet now produces all snow. And that's when you can just get stupid amounts. Over a foot is definitely on the table and that kind of a deal. But that's a long ways away, so we shall see. But that's a good point to bring up. So that's why you usually wait to get a little closer before you start splitting it up into freezing rain, sleet, and snow categories. By the way, thank you for all the stars tonight. Kelly, Hot Cup of Joe, I see you with 500 stars. I'm going to drink that Joe tomorrow morning so I can wake up and do this again. But I appreciate your support. All right, you guys have a great night tonight. Get some sleep and enjoy whatever snow is out there for the next few hours here across central and, I say central, it's flurries, southern and now southeastern Oklahoma because it's quickly moving out. All right, you guys take care. Oh, send me some pictures just post them on the Facebook wall so everybody can see what you're doing for tomorrow, especially when you build some snowmen. All right, good night, everybody.